Hello, 7th and 8th grade 3D design. So this week we are going to jump into something new. We're going to finally use that clay I gave you guys. Again, I hope everyone was able to pick it up. If not, please email me and let me know because I don't know how else you would be able to do this. Um, so this type of clay, I was trying to look into it a little bit more. It, to me, seems like it's polymer clay, which some of you might know or might not know. Um, on the box, it only said it was modeling clay, but it's very similar to how polymer clay looks and feels. And polymer clay is different from the air dry clay that we had used for our different sculpting projects in school. So what our assignment is this week is going to be kind of two mini assignments. First one is I want you to experiment with this type of clay. Just like in class, I gave you a day, I gave some of you guys a couple days to experiment. We did that clay boot camp where we practiced things. I'm not going to go into that much detail because some of you guys, pretty much all of you who had taken my art classes had experience, wow, with using the clay. So we're just going to kind of jump into it. So this first part of the assignment is just experimenting. So what I want you to do is look around your house for different things that you could use for sculpting, like sculpting tools. So maybe it's a pencil, paintbrush, toothpicks, Q-tips, just anything that you can find that you think that you could potentially sculpt with, and then also find things that you could imprint and create texture with. So like over here, I have a hammer, I went outside, I found a rock, a stick, I have a paintbrush, staples, mini screwdriver, keys, straw, um, Q-tip, ping pong ball, pizza cutter type thing, a rolling pin. I have tinfoil. I have actual like clay cutters because I have used this type of clay before. And then I don't really like to like sculpt exactly on like my desk or like a countertop. I like to put something down so that it doesn't really stick to that and ruin it. So I just put down a piece of like whiteboard that I had, but you could use like parchment paper, um, maybe like wax paper, tinfoil might work. Um, just anything. I mean, you can sculpt on it, but I just don't want your families at home to get mad in case like stuff like parts of the clay sticks to it. Anyway, so what you're going to do is you're going to open up your clay and you are going to just practice with a little bit. I don't want you to get into too much of it. But so first thing that you're going to do is you got to kind of wake up that clay and activate it. Just like in class, it's not that the easiest to like sculpt with at first. You just got to wake it up. I was looking online that if your clay is kind of dried out and it's cracking and it doesn't really feel like it's that working that well, you can take some Vaseline and put a little bit on, and that helps kind of um, help it come back to life and make it a little bit easier to sculpt with. So that's an option if you feel like your clay is really dried out and it's not working that well. But initially, when you do take it out of the package, you do need to play around with it to kind of activate it, I guess we can say. Okay? And so what you're going to be doing for this first part of the assignment is first I want you to color mix your clay together. So just take a little bit of two different colors and um, color mix. So think it's same with paint. If you were to mix like red and blue paint, you would make purple. With clay, same thing. Whatever two colors you take, they would most likely will make a new color. I wanted to make a green color, so I took a little bit of yellow and I'm just kind of rolling it out into like a mini coil. If you remember some of the clay vocab from class. And then I did the same thing with the green. And at first, I'm just going to marble my clay because I want to show you that that's an option to just leave it in a marbled effect. And then I'm going to actually mix it together. So I'm just kind of twisting it together, kind of like a spiral. I'm going to start to kind of fold it and work it, and it's going to start to marble and mix all together. I think I went by it. All right, let's see. Sorry. Okay, so here I go. I'm going to lift it up into the camera in a second, and you can see that this is just a marbled effect. You can both see still look. You can both see the two colors that you chose, but then if you continue to mix it kind of aggressively like this, it's going to turn into one full color. So you can see here I have an actual green that I made. And depending on if I added more yellow, it would make it like a light green, lime green color. If I added more of this blue green, it would have made it darker. But so I definitely want to see that you color mix a piece of clay. And then the next part is that you're experimenting with the clay. So I'm just kind of laying out some of the different tools. I'm going to fast forward through this. Um, and so I'm kind of rolling it out into a pancake. I cut it in half, so I have two different areas to work with. Um, And so I'm just taking some of those different tools that I found and I'm just experimenting with making marks and sculpting with them. So this is the back of a paintbrush. I did little dots. I did a little bit longer, pressing it in, just seeing kind of how the clay reacts and what I can do. Some different little circle prints. If I pressed in harder, it made it a little bit darker and bigger. If I just lightly pressed in, it made this little bumpy texture. Doing the key, pressing that in. Okay, so um, you're just going to kind of keep doing that and experimenting with it and see what works and what doesn't work. Um, you should have at least like 6 or 7, you can do as many as you want, um, of different textures and imprints that you find. A straw works really well. I did um, cut the straw and make it like in half so it's like scales. But definitely experiment with things, okay? Um, so you should have a piece that you color mixed. So this was my green one that I color mixed. You should have a couple that you are imprinting and experimenting with. And then I also want you to sculpt like something mini. So I'm sculpting like a little cat dog head type thing and just playing around with how the clay works and how it like attaches together. You can do the scoring like we did, like in actual class when we used the air dry clay, we did scoring and slipping to attach pieces together. This here, obviously you don't need that slip water to attach things. You can just kind of press them together and they do stick. I suggest though that you do the scoring, and then if you see here, I'm taking the back of my paintbrush and I'm just kind of smoothing it together a little bit just to make sure that it's really secure. So I want you to experiment with like actually sculpting something mini. Okay, so I'm doing a little animal head, trying to put in some details, adding some texture, trying to see what I can and can't do. Okay. And so then you'll take a picture kind of like of this, your different things you imprinted on, experiments with, the color mixed piece, and then your little creature that you made. Okay. This you're all going to save also. So you can put it back into a Ziploc bag to save it and like resculpt it. You can put it back into a clump. Once you kind of mix together, you can still use that. Um, okay, so this is just experiment. You can put it back in a bag and it's good to go. Okay. Oh, here I forgot to also mention, if you, you can see my reflection, if you take either like makeup, like eyeshadow or chalk or like chalk pastel, and you get kind of that dusty color, I'm just taking a Q-tip and I'm rubbing it onto the clay, rubbed it on a piece of white clay, and I'll show you in a second. Let me move it. You can actually color the clay that way too. So that was a really cool thing that I found online that was something you guys can try. Obviously, if you don't have those materials, you don't need to do it. Okay, so this is the first part. You'll take a picture kind of all this, submit it, and then the second part is I'm going to show you guys the Pinterest thing where I kind of grabbed the inspiration for this project. I know that you're probably looking at this being like, that is really elaborate and really challenging looking, and I definitely agree. So we're just going to take this as inspiration. So this is using a lot of different sculpting techniques and kind of combining them. But so what we're going to do is we are going to for our project that we're going to start next week, we're going to take some sort of container or something and we're going to kind of upcycle it. So you could take maybe like a soda can, a container like a bottle or carton that you finished, it's empty, you were going to throw it away or recycle it. I had a little pot that I plant my cactuses in, and I had one that I was gonna paint, but I decided to use that as my container. So instead of painting it, I'm gonna kind of build off of it. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick kind of like a theme. So like here, this is kind of like a mushroom mold theme. This is kind of like a gems theme. This is like a nature animal theme. Um, this is like a sea theme, and you can really pick whatever you want, and it can be abstract too. So if you don't know what abstract means, you can have it be random and not really be a specific theme. Like these things would all be abstract because you can't really identify exactly what's going on. Same with these. Um, or you can kind of take inspiration. Like this one to me kind of reminds me of like a dragon's eye. This one you can see is kind of like an underwater coral theme. So pick something that you are interested in and would help you be motivated to create it. And so what you're going to be doing is you're going to pick that container and I want you to draw up what you're going to do. So here is what my little rough draft was. So what I need to see is that you write what are you going to transform and you write in what that thing is. So maybe it's a soda can, a bottle, milk carton, maybe you have like a little container in your room or something that you want to transform, okay? And then I want to know what is your inspiration for it. So mine, I picked kind of a desert, patterns, abstract, texture, southwestern kind of art. And then I just drew up like a little rough sketch. And then I think it's important to kind of think of what your color scheme is going to be. Um, Try to keep it simple. I mean, obviously you can make it as complex as you want, but I just stuck to maybe like 6 different colors. So, and then I incorporated here, and they were colors that I could make with my clay. So that's an important thing to plan out too. Like you might have to color mix, you might have to use that chalk technique. So that's kind of what I want to see. So this will be the second assignment is that you will pick what you're going to transform and then you're going to draw up a way um, to do it, like a game plan. And obviously there's so much more because this is 360. I could have made a backside. I didn't want to get too elaborate with this assignment for you guys because there's already a lot of testing things out. But so think about how you're going to transform your object, and you can see it's kind of inspired from those pictures I showed you. So some ideas, if you're like really into sports, maybe you do all different types of sports equipment around the outside. Maybe if you're really into video games, pick a video game that you really like. Think about the levels, like if you're into Fortnite, maybe you do like the different characters, or I don't know. I don't know. I picked Fortnite because I don't really know anything about it. Or pick like an environment. Maybe it's like an Arctic, maybe desert, maybe it's space, maybe it's underwater, okay? And transform it that way. Or it can just be totally abstract, like you just kind of make it up on your own, okay? And then I just want to see a picture of what you came up with, upload it into that assignment, and then next week we're going to actually start to do this in small pieces, okay? So this week there is kind of a lot, but I think you guys will be able to do it. All right. So sorry that this video was super long.